Commissioner Gary?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Governor,
Here.
Attorney General,
Here.
Commissioner,
Here.
Research and Technology Park Grant Program. Brenda.
good morning. Thank you for having us. Brenda Weiland, CEO for the Research Park. My colleague Josh Cholinsky, the Chief Technology Officer for the Research Park. We are here to brief you on our plan for Senate Bill 2256. And thought we would take just a moment this morning to kind of remind ourselves what exactly the Research Park is up to. If you take a look at our first slide here, we have 6 key technology areas that we've defined that have a real direct connection to workforce needs and demands with where workforce is going. And in our new business model, we're intentionally hiring engineers and technical experts from the private sector connected to these areas of expertise, similar to Josh here. We're building 3 key primary internal teams, product development team, a business development team, and an engineering team. And it will allow us really to connect the scientific discovery that's happening and convert it into a product that goes to market. And we believe that is a gap that has been identified not only in North Dakota, but really across the country that we're going to fill. The result of what you see, though, is the impact back to industry and our partners, driving operational efficiencies, increasing profitability, and really addressing those workforce challenges that exist. If we take another look at our operational overview on the next slide, the primary markets we plan to serve are dual use technologies with precision ag and defense. There is an underlying energy component only because we need more computational power. It's not because we want to start duplicating efforts across the state. The ERC and others are doing wonderful work. This is about just getting, more operational efficiencies in the hands of where we can help from that perspective. But our teams are going to engage with the markets. They're going to learn about the problems or the opportunities that exist, put that information back into our engineering team, and then we're going to figure out how to solve the problem. Either we'll do an IP scan and we'll see what intellectual property might exist already for us to license, or we'll just create our own, put it into a product. And then if we have taken a contract from a partner because they view us as an extension of their team, then we'll give them a product and we'll turn around and give it back to them for a solution perspective.
Do each of those have unique IP agreements, like when you make a deal with a partner?
Correct.
I'm assuming you negotiate the IP with your business partner?
Yes,
right?
we
So
would.
you don't just necessarily get it or they don't get it. You guys do it based on
Correct.
where you're at it.
Yep. We'll look at what background IP we're bringing to the table, or they might be. What's the outcome? What kind of a solution are we providing to them? What works for them and for us? And yes. We also have our own ideas. Having been in the private sector, we came from a technology company. We have a lot of connections in industry. We understand the problems that exist there. And so we may also create our own products that we spin out and take to market. So just a reminder of our operational view. If we look at the next slide, an executive summary of Senate Bill 2056 is really about accelerating the commercialization of these opportunities and getting them into the marketplace. And an industry standard is looking at a technology readiness level. There's 9 levels. Generally 1 through 3 are where your research universities are typically going to operate, basic and fundamental research. We're going to pick up after that, though, and go from 4 to 7, where we're actually getting something to a much more mature state. It's been validated and it can evolve to a market readiness level that an industry partner would expect to have from a product in that perspective. And you can see some of the high-level key outcomes that we're going to focus on as we move through the biennium and get off and running. We're going to take a look really at the 5 pillars we've created to execute against this, and then spend most of our time really talking about what exactly are we going to do. We've got some examples that we thought would be helpful. The 5 pillars, though, really show the progression we're going to make as we get started. And we're going to spend some time talking this morning on agile technology acceleration. what exactly is that and what does it mean to us? And we're going to share some examples of that. We're also going to, get into the engineering solution side of things where we're actually providing, a direct contract to a customer or a partner that's looking for innovation that really aligns with those market needs. And they would view us as an extension of their team because perhaps they don't have either the capacity or the niche technical expertise that in time we want to build at the park. We obviously are putting some strategic infrastructure in place. We've got an electronics lab that we're going to be putting into place. We've got equipment that we need to do, but really we need to be able to have compliant products and scalable technology development as we move forward. And that all gets down to talent, hiring additional talent and putting them on our team, making sure we have the right engineers and technical experts to be able to execute on the projects or the products that we're going to be creating. And then again, getting back, Governor Armstrong, to your point on the IP, making sure it's protected, that there's ready market products that are going out there that meet the needs that we see coming forward. So let's talk about what agile technology acceleration really means to us. And Josh, we can tag team here and jump in a little bit, but in the beginning, we're really talking about some of the subsystems that are related to autonomy advancing further down that life cycle. We're going to get into perception and computing and those communications, and that's really the emphasis of what we are focusing on. Josh, why don't you talk a little bit about how we're going to move from that early stage into those validated products?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've kind of set some of our key focus areas around the sensor systems and things that'll support autonomy, we'll start developing down that path, integrating the technologies, testing them. We'll be proactively out there in the market working with partners and getting feedback. So that's kind of the product cycle of it, to ensure that we're getting something that's not just technologically interesting, but actually is going to serve a market function, and starting to also line up who are the potential licensors or acquirers of that technology. So integrated into the technology development is the commercial piece of that.
For sure. And the biggest opportunity for the state is really having products that align with market demand. And we're going to bridge that gap between what's happening in the scientific discovery world and early emerging technology capabilities, and making sure that it aligns with what the needs of the marketplace are. And in doing so, we're going to have this core engineering team that we create. We're going to have them skilled in rugged electronics and advanced sensors, artificial intelligence, and really the key technical areas that we identified that are a direct connection back to market. Then we'll move through those as we, validate and test and prepare for a scalable deployment. But let's talk about some specific examples. And today, right now, we have some of our own product ideas that we're already getting started on. We have industry partners coming to us and talking to us about ideas, and that IP isn't protected yet, so we can't give specific examples today, but what we can do is talk about past examples that are very relevant to the types of products we plan to take to market or develop for our products or for our customers. So we identified 2 past defense products and 2 past precision ag products. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of the business and market aspects that are important, and then Josh will talk about the dual use technologies. Really, this was because there was a need in the market. There was a problem that a customer needed solved. And our team then jumped in and did ideation. How do we solve this problem? What existing technologies are out there? Have they been used in different ways that could solve the problem? Are there emerging technologies coming into the market that we could push the envelope and test and see if they could really deliver on a solution? The other part is when we talk about dual use, what does that mean? We can have a product that uses technologies in one way for one market and turn around and leverage that technology in a different way in a different market. And so the learning that was done to figure out how that technology works, how you convert it into a product, is applicable in multiple ways and can have a broader impact in that regard. Josh, why don't you jump in and touch on the product examples we have here?
And I think I'll on the dual use, there's a fantastic example in the first top left corner. So that was a project done in the past that started out as a SVIR, and that actually developed into technology that would be used for situational situational awareness on soldiers' helmets, as part of the F-35 program kind of development, fed into some of the smart head tracking sensors. We took that, used that in the military defense market at that time, but then we also brought it into adjacent markets of aviation, and we did flight data tracking and flight data recording with some of the same key sensing and positioning technologies. Similarly, below that, the confidential, unfortunately, that one we cannot share the information on who that was for as far as a past defense partner, but we're able to leverage the other direction, utilizing cellular satellite communication technologies that we developed for the agriculture market and telemetry going in large equipment into something that was going to be operating in a battle space using similar but differently hardened technologies. So you can kind of see that crossover and dual benefit that's able to be had when we develop technologies like that.
Do you want to touch even just on the precision ag
Sure, absolutely.
products?
Before we go to precision aid, just the military, and this is more of a business case question than the technology side. One of the problems with DoD and getting contracts is there's this weird inverse relationship where the big companies don't innovate nearly as well as the small startups.
Correct.
But the small startups don't have the mechanism of maneuvering the DOT or the DoD acquisition process in this meaningful way. So can you guys help with that? Because I mean, if you're going 4 to 7 business ready, part of it with DoD is actually getting the DoD to say, yes, this is what we want.
For sure. So part of it is the extensive past experience we have in the private sector. I started and led our government defense division in a private sector company. Josh was basically my CTO at that level and helped us get that off the ground and running. It's about past connections. It's also about us identifying partners where we can simply step in right off the bat and serve as a sub to them to begin with. But the encouraging
Private sector partners.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Correct.
But the encouraging part, though, they are looking pretty substantially at overhauling the acquisitions process within DoD. And that's very encouraging for the state of North Dakota for us to get products into the DOT direct or DoD.
Yeah, because we don't have the big defense contractors. We never will. But we
Yes.
have what we have is small guys that invent really cool stuff.
Yes, and we can help be a channel for that. As we build our own past performance at the park, it gives us a contract vehicle directly. And we can then take a look at how do we help other businesses as we grow this environment more substantially in North Dakota.
Thank you.
Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, touching on a couple of the precision ag technologies. The top right picture there is kind of the human machine interface for an automated combine. So we were partnered with a customer that was really desiring to automate all the settings. If anybody's ever run a combine harvester, there's, sieve, chaffer, and everything. You're looking at your loss, just a ton of settings to get dialed in, especially for an inexperienced operator. That's very challenging. And with workforce issues and having experienced enough operation in agriculture, that's a serious problem. So taking that problem, we, over multi-year development from prototyping, development of the sensors, building the automation algorithms, integrated that into the solution and brought that to a production prototype state. And then over the next several years, that OEM rolled out a lot of those automations into factory fit shipping product. So there, again, on the ag side, a lot of automation and autonomy sort of precursors in that are now going to a more autonomous. Interesting sort of taking from that with the same partner, we're able to leverage a subcomponent that you see down in the bottom right corner, which is actually a smart camera system that we developed with them, and re-leverage that into a different application in the grain handling space, where we then put AI and algorithms on that camera running at the edge, local, so it's secure and disconnected from the internet, providing intelligence to the grain handling operation of the grain elevator, what it's seeing to help prevent mixing of grains, getting soybeans in a silo, and a lot of other contaminant identification problems. So these are just a couple of examples of, kind of our history and also the team that we're building and folks that we're bringing on that have very applicable history and capabilities to produce more products like this.
Did they, do most of these come in as an individual producer? Do they walk in the door and say, here's the problem that I'm having with my operation? Or is it a manufacturer of some kind saying, here's what we're hearing from producers all across the region. We have to solve that problem.
It's typically going to be a manufacturer in that case when it comes in as a project like that, where they're going to be project sponsor and pay for the development and share in some of the IP. But, rewind a few slides when I was talking about the product and development and the agile product development. Proactively, our team going out and spending time and being immersed in these spaces, both in the military space and other spaces, we will perceive and listen to and find those problems that are being expressed at the grower farmer level or the soldier level, and then we can take that and pair that up with technology ideas on our own. So that's kind of that other path where it's sort of homegrown IP and ideas versus things we're providing solutions to industry. It's a powerful combination because both make you stronger in different ways and able to provide those.
Sure.
Yeah. 20 years from now, no one will know how to set a combine because it'll just be happening. When electronics go bad, they'll be like, I'm not sure what I should be doing.
I already don't know how.
We'll see some dusty pans in the corner for testing loss, and nobody will know what those were used for.
Yeah, that's right. Whole generation is gonna go away that knows how to do it by hand. So,
You're glass half empty. You should be glass half full. It sounds like a retirement plan for you.
I'm just worried about the future. Yeah.
Doug
But this is great. I mean,
Goring, Traditional Agriculture Consulting.
We might
I
have
do
to
like
do-
your platform though, because I see a lot of applications there. We have a program where we fund a lot of research prototypes, technology, and spend most of our time trying to encourage those people that are coming forward. You have to commercialize this, so you need to connect with the private sector.
Absolutely.
I see this as an ability to send some people your way and say, this is great, it has potential, but we're afraid of funding it and then it gets shelved. So I really appreciate what you're doing here.
How fast is AI invading this space?
Incredibly fast.
Yes.
I mean, week to week, day by day. I mean, on the large language model side of things, which as things get more agentic and autonomous, that's going to come into play. But a lot of those same underlying technologies are now starting to be able to be used to interpret visual information and actually provide guidance of, instead of predicting next word, next motion for a robot, what's the next trajectory that it needs to take. So we're starting to see that down to things that can process at the edge.
And I'm assuming a lot of the stuff you touch has been AI, I've called it AI, right? Like that.
That's
The
absolutely
thing
right.
with AI is it's not nearly as new as everybody says it is. It's just the advancements are turbocharged right now.
Yeah,
Very insightful.
I've been working with what's actually AI for, a dozen or more years, right? And now it's kind of on everybody's brain and the tip of their tongue. So it's an interesting time.
That really gets to the heart of, why us now. Having that practice experience, being able to bridge the gap between what's happening in those early stages and actually getting it to market is really a significant opportunity for North Dakota. We welcome and encourage and have voluntarily signed up for additional oversight and accountability of our program. We have no problem with that. We want to make sure that we're being good stewards of these funds and working as we should be. We'll come and provide quarterly reports and then our annual summaries as was required. But our goal is next summer, we're doing a live demonstration for all of you with the technology and the products we're working on. And so we're being aggressive in what we need because that's how industry moves. And that's what our goal is for a year from now. And then really when we get to the heart of what we're doing, you can see in the very last slide, we kind of broke down in a foundational perspective. This is, it's a marathon. It's a 10-year game. It's not going to happen overnight, but we put some very foundational aspects in place for year 1 and year 2. Going to allow us to build our team and get our labs up and running, get some initial prototyping done, and then continue to explore our industry partnerships or military partnerships. As we move into that second year of the biennium, really we'll start to be able to expand on all of those efforts and really see some very early initial progress that we're excited about. And you can see down below, we're out raising funds because the legislature asked us to bring some matching funds to the table. And so we're actively out doing that. You can see we've put together how we anticipate using the funds. And then really, it's about the return on investment for the state. And we're excited about creating a leading nexus for advanced robotics and precision ag and defense, because it's where we really believe the future is going. And North Dakota is primed to have a seat at the table for that.
Good. Okay. I'll just qualify something. I love my auto steer. But when you lose a couple satellites, how come I'm the only one that still plans? Because I can look.
I can barely run the dumb equipment. The smart equipment, I would look at it and be like, no, I think.
There are a lot of computers now in the cab.
I was going to say, I can't wait to come out to your operation there and see you on your open cab riding in your little tractor.
Actually, you could have a couple days ago, because I have a little tractor with an open cab. Love it. I'll move the plan. Thank you.
I'll second.
Discussion? Thank you, guys. This is going to be great.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Attorney General?
Yes.
Yes.
And thank you for the recent tour. I really, I appreciate that. I appreciate the time that you took, and it was quite something. I've driven by the building for years, like many people, and it's quite an operation that you have there. It's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's easy to see that you're doing great things, and it's a great environment for it.
Well, we welcome all of you. We are looking forward to having you
Yeah.
next week. So please join us
Okay.
anytime.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
we'll be back in front of you in 3 months.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, Deanne.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have a series resolution.
Yes.
All right.
It's been a while since we put the financing program resolution, but we have the 2015B and 2015C bonds to refund, and then some new money for the city of Burlington. And so it's a resolution for up to $50 million and with a max interest of 6%.
And move.
Second.
I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No,
Is that our-
no.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Attorney General?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
And I'll be back next month with the Burlington loan. That wasn't quite ready yet, so. All right, so for state revolving fund program, we start off with drinking water Grafton. They've requested $2,569,000 to do phase 1 replacement of their cast iron water mains. And they've got cost share of $3 million for a total project of $5.5 million. Note, there's no sanitary sewer being done at this time. The average annual payment will be $100,000. They will issue revenue bonds payable with their water fees in their water system. And they combine their water sewer well, fund, I guess it's just their water fund, and they've raised their rates and they'll be able to make those payments. And based on that information, the advisory committee recommended approval of this loan.
Yes, so moved.
Second,
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Attorney General?
yes.
Governor?
Yes.
The next one is the city of Jamestown, and they're requesting $5,760,000 to replace the 229 known lead service lines, and then they've got estimated 400 lead service lines, plenty of unknown at this time. They would be eligible for $3.9 million of loan forgiveness. Reminder, this is under the bipartisan infrastructure law money is where this comes from. They plan to special assess this project, and their average annual loan payment will be $92,000 per year. They've requested a 20-year loan term. This money has just a 0.5% interest rate, or it's actually the admin fee that gets charged. There's no interest rate on it. We are in year 4 of this money. We have 1 more year. And we were begging people to come and take this money so that we could apply for it. Now, everybody wants the money, and we've got to figure out how to allocate what we have left, and then see how far it goes. So,
So moved.
Second,
Discussion.
sort of a new twist on things.
yes.
It's if you give it away, they will come, not if you build it, they will come. You just
Well, I mean,
force them to take it. they
we
will come.
actually had it at 90% loan forgiveness
Yeah.
before the bill money, and we barely had anybody. And then when the bill money came, it was only, Congress said it could only be at 49% loan forgiveness, and then if you did some things, we could work it up to about 67% loan forgiveness, and do a little bit more of the max. We could get it up to a 75% loan forgiveness, and no interest, and we thought we might even have we weren't sure how we were going to be able to apply for the 2025 money, because we had to show we had applications, that we had commitments for this money.
Right.
Finally, Fargo came in, and now everybody's interested.
Everybody is.
But yeah, it took years. So, and less loan forgiveness.
Yeah,
Roll call.
Commissioner?
yes.
Attorney General?
Yes.
Governor?
Yes.
The next one is the city of Minot. They are requesting $2,246,000 towards an $8 million project. They have requested $4.8 million of cost share from the Department of Water Resources. They're going to be replacing their cast iron water mains to reduce the number of breaks and improve water quality issues. And I don't believe that they're doing anything with their sanitary sewer mains at that time. They will have a revenue bond that will be payable from their water, sewer, and storm sewer user fees, and their average annual payment will be $181,000 per year. And they don't need to raise their rates to be able to make that payment. And based on that information, the advisory committee recommended approval of this loan.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Attorney General?
yes.
Governor?
Yes.
City of West Fargo, this is eligible under the both clean water and drinking water, but it is something we have not done. I'm not sure, this is probably the first one, but it is a remodel and add-on to their public works facility. So it houses their water, sewer, and street sanitation departments. So it's going to be a percentage of that the clean water and drinking water will be able to fund. It's, I guess if it's all right with you, it's pretty much all the same information for their clean water request and their drinking water request. They requested $8.5 million under the clean water program and then $2.7 million under the drinking water program. So that's kind of the percentage of the building that will be used for their water operations, their sanitary sewer operations, stormwater, like the street sweeper that counts towards their stormwater and their sanitary sewer operations. And so they went through and canceled all of those remodel and additions and what areas that they're going to work out. And then they'll have local funds of $5.55 million for this $15.75 million project. And they've requested a 30-year loan term, and they will repay this with their water and sewer revenue fees, respectively, for each of the clean water loan and the drinking water loan. The average annual payment for the $8.5 million clean water loan will be $358,000. And then for the $0.7 million drinking water loan, that average annual payment will be $105,000 per year. And they, again, pledged their water and sewer for both of those loans. Their net operating coverage as is sufficient to cover both of those combined payments will be $464,000 a year, and they should be able to meet those coverage requirements. They have been raising their rates, and based on that information, the advisory committee recommended approval of both the clean water and drinking water loans.
If you're good with it, Mr. Chairman, I'd move both the drinking water and the clean water loan.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
And then the last is this Kenmare, which is a loan below the $2 million threshold that the advisory committee approved for $638 million, and just follows on our theme of replacing water mains. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
And I think you added a few zeros on that one.
Yeah.
638,000, right?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, Kenmare might not be too happy. That's
They'd love the check, they just wouldn't like paying it back.
exactly. I'm so used to millions that thousands doesn't come across my desk very often anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Nathan. You're up.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Guys.
We have a few orders. We had one from last month that we moved to this month, and then Mark, we're done. Mark's going to walk through those, and then we have just a couple items of other business to. That's the plan. I think we'll start with the one that I think the last month. Mark's going to walk through it.
The first case is an application by Continental in Williams County. We wanted to establish two stand-up 1,920 acre spacing, so 3-mile wells, one horizontal well in each. Also 4 overlapping 3,840 acre spacing for a 2-mile well in each. And we have no issue with the lease line wells they proposed. It's the two stand-up 1920s. Go to the next slide. The development plan, if you look on the center sections, there's on the top, you got 6 and 7. That's currently a stand-up 1,280 acre space unit that's partially developed on the west side. You can see a dotted 3-mile lateral that goes down from 6 and 7 into 18. And then 18, 19, 30, and 31 are currently a stand-up 2560. There's been development on the east side with 4 wells. And then we've had in section 30, northeast of 30. And you see a dashed 3-mile well there again in 1930 and 31. You also see 4 yellow dash lines, 2 going north, 2 going south, 18, 19, 30, and 31. So they plan to further develop that 2560 acre spacing with 2-mile horizontal wells. And the if you look in sections 18 and 19, on the east side, there's looks like a purple colored well. That is a well that has produced, but is now plugged. So they want to go across section 18 where that current well, or that well that was there that produced. So we question them that if they're willing to drill 4 2-mile horizontal wells on the 2560, why not 2 more where that dash green line is in 18, 19, 30, 31, and where there isn't a well in section 18, because they testified that 1280 wells are economic. And they said that 3-mile wells are more economic, which that's what everybody has been, the company's been testifying to when they come in to our hearings. They were asked if 18, 19, 30, and 31, that's a stand-up 25 that has been partially developed, if it was a reasonable expectation that it would get further developed. And Continental admitted that it was. And the correlative rights issues are 6 and 7. Likewise, those owners in those sections could reasonably assume that the oil that's still left on East Half is theirs to recover. But with Continental's proposal now, 6 and 7 and 18 would share in that eastern well, that 3-mile well. But in 6 and 7, you're drilling through virgin reservoir, and in section 18, you're drilling into a depleted reservoir. So the owners in 6 and 7 would be given 1/3 of their oil away, which presumably most of the oil is going to come from 6 and 7 to section 18. So that does not protect their correlative rights. And similarly, in 18, 19, 30, and 31, with that 3-mile well, there's a well slot in section 18 that's not going to get developed now. And presumably, the owners in 18 will not share in that 3-mile well. So they're giving up one development slot and then not sharing any other oil on that 2560 that they are entitled to. And not developing that center part of 18 could be considered waste, because you got two well slots across 18 that they want to develop, 3 across the other section. The reservoir is the same in 18 as in 19, 30, and 31. So their application not protect correlative rights. I recommend you enter an order denying the application.
So the question I have, and maybe that's upcoming then, or are we gonna be talking about the next, what you guys are proposing, or we've been in discussions with them about that?
The order we're recommending denies the application. It does indicate in here that the stand-up lease line horizontals, we have no problem with.
Okay.
They did, if you want to go to the next slide, they did present an alternate plan after the hearing showing the 6 wells and the 2560 now, the 6 2-mile wells, and then one more well up in section 6 and 7.
Just one more though.
It'd be the same amount of lateral footage essentially.
Lateral footage, but we still have, looks like some space out there. It's not fully developed.
Well, with this plan, it would be fully developed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 6 and 7 would be
Yeah,
fully.
there's another well, if you look on the east side over there, that's the dash green line.
Yeah, I see that. I just,
It's this one in 18 as well, so.
Yeah.
The prior one, there was no, well, it's not coming, they're 3-miler, and then the one that you have there, it does, so this plan.
it will do it.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just 3 2-miles instead of, right? 3 2-miles on the alternative plan?
Well, there'd be 6. The
Yeah.
6, you know,
Sorry, yeah.
3 well slots across.
So
Discussion.
What, one question about the, well that was plugged, was there a reason? Was it an early one that just was it was a hit and miss and didn't produce?
Commissioner, unfortunately, I did not investigate that. I'm not quite
Okay.
sure why they plugged it.
Just seems odd in such a good producing area that you'd have a plug.
I believe it was at First Bench, Three Forks. Well, I don't know if that had something to do with it.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Attorney General?
Yes.
Governor?
Okay, the next two cases are very similar. They are up in northern Williams County. Phoenix made an application for two stand-up 1,920 acre space units for development of horizontal wells. Go to the next slide. You can see that I highlighted where these sections are. So there's 17, 20, and 29 would be the north, 19, 20, 32, 5, and 8 be the south, 19. They're currently stand up 1,280 acre species. They have not been developed. But if you look to the north, sections 5 and 8 has one horizontal well in it. If you look to south, 17 and 20 has one horizontal well in it. And what Phoenix is proposing is off-pattern spacing units. I tried to include a large enough area in this. You can see to the west, there are stand-up 1920s that are considered on-pattern, meaning they do not cross a township line. There's 6 sections across the township, and 2 3-mile wells will fit right in there. Because as we all know, with townships and our northern geography, when you get further north, the corrections get very large when you get to a township correction. So that kind of is the block. It blocks further development across that township line. So that's what the commission is concerned about, because if you space 3-mile wells now and then you leave 2 miles at the top of a township well at a correction line, you're pretty much forced to develop it on 2-mile wells now, which are in this part of the basin are sub-economic or marginally economic. And the commission also, we try to establish uniform spacing in the area. This area is actually an area back in 2014, I believe it was, where we, with one order, we established 1,500 on pattern, 1,280 acres to line this up for further development, to get the energy corridors lined out, and things like that. So now it didn't get fully developed, as we all know, and now they're coming back in with 3-mile horizontal wells to develop this because they are economic in this area. We want to avoid some of the mistakes we made in the past where we let people kind of hopscotch around and put space units together, and then we ran into township corrections, and it was, as we all know, this giant game of Tetris can get very complicated when you let different operators coalesce their space units together, and all of a sudden you get to the middle. Well, it doesn't work here, guys. So anyway, what Phoenix testified to is that the reason they picked these two stand-up 1920s in between these two 12As have been developed because they want to space the virgin sections. They don't want to establish a space unit that partially takes in a developed section which has some depletion. So they were questioned if we let them just hopscotch around and pick all the virgin acreage, how are we going to provide for uniform development? How are we going to avoid forcing some 2 sections to be developed as a 1280, which everybody agrees are marginally or sub-economic in this area? And you could force, or you could eventually make those lands undevelopable for further development because it's uneconomic on 2-mile horizontal wells. And then if we allow Phoenix to do this, then the other operators that come in later, they're just going to have to pick up the pieces and pick up the crumbs and find what they can. And it was pointed out that the commission has to protect the relative rights of all owners in the area, not just Phoenix's. And they argued that nobody was there opposing this application, which is true, but we don't want to make the same mistakes we made in the past with establishing space units that are going to create a problem or potentially isolate or strand lands. And also there are unleased owners out there, and who looks out for their co-op rights? Well, it's the commission that looks out for those.
I was gonna say, if they understand what the approach is, they shouldn't have to be there every time. Right? I mean, if we have an established objective approach and we apply it.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is that you enter an order denying this application because it does not protect the ground rights.
So
This is up by Granora, right?
This is,
Yeah.
to the east.
Just a little east of Granora. Interesting country up there.
So
Second,
Discussion?
a question, when they come in and you have these discussions with them, what is their response to that?
A lot of companies are, and it's not their fault. They're looking out for their interests, which they should.
Right.
But the commission has to look out for everybody's interest in an area, not just one company's. And we've attempted to get that across to the operators. We actually had another case last month where a different operator came in, and it's a little to the west and further north, where they spaced everything from basically Granora to Canada in several applications. They took our advice because they had been before the commission before and said, you need to look at the area as a whole. They took our advice and they spaced everything up to the Canadian border. So it's all going to fit together nice and neat.
Yep.
And that's what we want all of their operations is look at the picture as a whole. Give us, if you want to do something unusual, give us a plan as how is everything still going to fit together where nobody's getting their oxygen.
Good.
Yeah, and I get it. They don't necessarily see it from our point of view, but not only that, I mean, statutorily, we have a responsibility. We have to protect relative rights and prevent waste, and I'm sure that doesn't necessarily cross their mind.
25 years ago, if somebody wanted to drill a well up in Granola, we'd have been doing backflips down the hallway. No, I mean, part of this is we view this significantly. I mean, it's not our money or not our investment, but we view this as a mining play, not an exploratory play. And if you would do this, if you take this 10 by 10 mile square and say, I mean, there's no wells in it.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
we still don't view it as an exploratory play. We view it as, a resource development play. And, Phoenix wants to find oil. That's what they want to do. And they want to put themselves in the best position to do it.
And Governor, there are other, as you can see to the
Yeah.
north and east, there are people out there. There are other operators out here looking now.
Mhm.
And like I said, we want to try to avoid some of the, I don't know what to call them mistakes, but as you said, if we're
They
in
were
a,
mistakes because nobody knew we were going to hit 100 out of 100. It's the first time it ever happened. We can learn from how this happened.
One of the questions we always ask is when the development is expected, and typically these are like 2027, 2028. So there's time to take a step back, look at the development again, rework it, and not prevent a delay in development of this area. So there's still plenty of time to work on it. So we don't believe a denial is a delay or a rig that doesn't get put in the air. Just a step back, take a different look at it.
Yeah.
Different approach.
Exactly.
And move forward properly.
We don't want to discourage anybody.
That's right.
We just got to take a pragmatic approach to this.
Yep.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes.
procedural question, do we cover both of them or is that?
that was just a motion.
That was just one.
Okay, so the second case is the other species, so a companion case, so it's the same argument.
Okay. So moved.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes.
The other, there's 4 more cases, they are default orders, these are for complaints we issued against different companies for being in violation of commission rules and regulations, and then failing to participate in an adjudicative proceeding by failing to file an answer to the complaint. First one is Missouri Basin Well Service. They had one well that never produced. And they had another disposal well that they did plug, but they never reclaimed the site. Some of the violations, the civil penalties against Missouri Basin is $1,259,870.13. Cost the commission incurred in this investigation was $320.88. So I'm recommending you approve an order that establishes these civil penalties and costs.
So moved.
Second.
Hold on a second. Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
The next case is against Leland Oil and Gas LLC. They had one well that last produced in February 2020. Now in violation, it's abandoned and has not been plugged and reclaimed. Civil penalty assessed is $306,487.50. Costs of $300 were assessed and they paid those, but they have to see if they pay the civil penalty once they receive this. So I'm recommending an order approving the civil penalty that I mentioned.
So moved.
Second.
It's like they just forgot about it and walked away. I mean,
It's very interesting at times trying to deal with some of these operators when, like I said, they fail to participate in the proceeding.
okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
The third order is against James M. Peterson LLC. Again, they failed to participate in the adjudicative proceeding. They had one well last produced January 2022. So it's not been plugged, it's not been reclaimed. They were ordered to file a single bond amount of $250,000. They failed to do that. The sum of the civil penalties is $173,456.25. The cost the commission incurred were $255. I'm recommending you approve an order establishing the civil penalty and costs.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
The last order is a little different. It's for a treating plant. It was built and then operated for a short time and then was abandoned. Again, TD Services, it's against TD Services LLC individually and TD Services LLC doing business as TD Environmental. And for the Bollinger treating plant, they notified us in 2015 they were no longer going to process material. It sat there, and then we gave them a deadline of July 1st, 2024 to bring the treating plant into compliance. They failed to do so. It's abandoned, has not been decommissioned and reclaimed. We're recommending a civil penalty of $56,718.75. The costs the commission incurred were $643.37. I'm recommending an order to establish the civil penalty and costs.
So moved.
Second.
Do they, is this the only thing they operate in North Dakota?
As far as I know, yes. It was a small operation. It was basically a settling operation.
Oh,
They set up a frac tank, maybe a couple of tanks on a disposal site, and they would bring in material, let it settle out, put the water down to disposal. The tank would then accumulate solids.
so there's just a little bit to manage there. Really, it is, this isn't a big
This
facility.
is not a big facility at all.
All right.
Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
That's it from the orders we brought.
Just a couple points about the business. The court denied the NIC's position for reconsideration, subject case on the memorandum you guys have in front of you. That was all I really had to report at this point. Typically, I would bring director's cut executive summary here. That's tomorrow, actually. So, but month over month, everything's pretty stable. And one other business is implementing setting a review process at the DMR, and that was kicked off last week. And that's like three.
I would like to give you a heads up. Next month, we plan on bringing our administrative.
Yeah, heads up and return, get them to meet before the night before, or they'll move to the next meeting. I go through those, and if I get them late, I'm gonna ask that they go.
I think I'm done. I just have to get it, get them formatted now. So, we get to do that plenty early.
Thank you.
That was all. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna dig.
Yeah.
We're gonna dig in.
Good morning. Well, should we wait for a moment for that? Yeah.
Hi, Justin.
Good morning, Governor. So we have a few sections of our discussion here this morning. So first off, obviously, last meeting, two very, very good presentations provided, information provided to the commission from both Intensity Infrastructure Partners and WPI Energy. Today, I want to start our discussion just reviewing what we know since that time, clarifying what each company is specifically asking from the commission and from the pipeline authority. And so we'll get started. So in your binder, you should have a few things. You've got presentations, which we might reference in our discussion that each company provided. So you'll have those. The first item I want you to take a peek at is this company request summary. And so this is trying to put apples next to apples, so you know very clearly what each company is requesting from the commission and from the pipeline authority. So, Intensity Infrastructure Partners, we'll start with that project first. Their ask from the commission is two sides to it. One is a $50 million per year capacity commitment from the commission and the pipeline authority for phase one of their project. And phase one, if you recall on the map directly below that, that is the section from Watford City to Underwood. That $50 million per year commitment would allow them to upsize their pipe from a 24-inch to a 36-inch pipe. On the second side of that, if $50 million was not available for that phase one commitment, a $30 million per year capacity commitment would be sufficient to upsize from a 24-inch to a 30-inch pipe on their phase one, with the intention then of continuing to work with customers to try and secure momentum for a phase two expansion in the future. Below that, you have the WPI Energy, their Bakken East project. Their ask is the same as what it was from the RFI. They are seeking $50 million per year from the commission for that project. That project spans from Watford City to Mapleton, North Dakota, which is just west of the Fargo community there. And so that, no changes since that meeting. Still a 36-inch proposed from Watford City to Underwood, 30-inch from Underwood to 20-inch south to Ellendale, and that 30-inch continuing through that Mapleton area. So that is the clear asks as of today from each company. They've confirmed that with me that is their ask from the commission. One thing that each company, there are differing views on the timelines of their ask. Intensity Infrastructure Partners would prefer, and you heard it last meeting, a further delay, another 30 to 45 days before a decision gets made by the commission on direction of project. WBI Energy countering that, they still are in the situation. They would like the commission to act today on a decision in order to keep momentum moving forward with the project. And so any questions on that, we will transition into a set of information that is deemed non-confidential. We can start walking through some of the further nuts and bolts of the project before we move in later this morning to an executive session to talk confidential items, pricing, contract terms, those type of things. So any upfront questions? No? So taking a look at the table then in front of you, trying to highlight what I think are some of the most important pieces of it. On the left column, we've got the Bakken East project, the right column, Intensity project. Both $50 million per year, or in the case of Intensity, $30 million per year for that phase one piece. Term is identical between them, 10-year requests from each company. Route, as noted earlier, the Bakken East project, Watford City to Mapleton, Watford City to Underwood, and the Intensity. Timelines, no changes since the last meeting. The timelines of in-service, whether that's the west project or the eastern segments of those systems. Pipe diameter in the west, again, dependent in the intensity phase on funding secured. If there is no funding from the state, they would proceed forward likely unless there's additional customer commitments with a 24-inch to that Coal Creek area. On the east side, noted earlier, 30 and 20-inch on the Bakken East project, and then should Intensity move forward with phase two, depending upon what happens on phase one. If it's a 36, it could go to a 30-inch continuing east. If it was some lesser size pipe, then it gets challenging on what the flow dynamics would be. You would likely see them as a smaller pipe should they move forward with the smaller project in phase one. Pipe capacity is no changes since that last meeting. Again, about a BCF. I know decatherms per day, a lot of folks that throws them off. It's not perfect, but just consider that roughly 1 billion cubic feet per day. That Bakken East project, and then up to 875 million cubic feet per day in the phase two. Again, if it's expanded, phase one results in a 36-inch pipe. Regulatory structure, FERC on the Bakken East side, Intensity, still primary path would be the PSC, intrastate jurisdictional. They would need some FERC certificates in order to participate in interstate commerce. Those are blanket certificates that can be received from FERC. A little bit of a different regulatory structure to them. Upstream connectivity, really no different. WBI connecting to their legacy system. You'll see below it, we'll talk about plants in a moment, but upstream, Northern Border and WBI infrastructure is the upstream connectivity for both projects. When you look at kind of the footprint of each project, of type of gas plant connectivity, 23, and that is the legacy system that WBI operates in Western North Dakota, connects to gas processing plants both north of the lake as well as south of the lake. And the Intensity project, as proposed today, would tie into some larger gas processing in McKenzie County, directly feeding into that system. You start to see some differences in the eastern connectivity. Alliance and Viking, WBI has a direct interconnect proposed for those two projects, those two interstate systems. In the phase one ask, there would not initially be any type of interconnectivity. Long-term, certainly connectivity with WBI and the Alliance pipeline directly, and then Viking would be indirect connection just west of Fargo. It would get back on the WBI system and then over to the Viking system. Gas storage, direct connectivity on the WBI side, still connected on the Intensity project, but it does require that interface with WBI to provide that transport and that storage service. And then no changes in the open season interest in the eastern half of North Dakota. You can see the volume comparison there between Bakken East and WBI or Intensity. And then the letters of intent signed there. This is just the east side. West side, different parties involved in the west versus the east. And one precedent agreement for Intensity in the west with Rainbow Energy Center. And no precedent agreements on the Bakken East to date that I'm aware of on the west side. Just letters of intent and discussions at this time. So I will pause there for one moment. Any questions and clarity of exactly what is being asked and how these projects are laying out next to each other?
Big difference on when they're actually in service, though, once they complete their objective. January 2030 to compared to November 2030.
Correct. Yep. So there is a timeline difference.
10-month difference.
And whether or not that will be I think both projects would probably tell you that they are going to strive to meet customer and service. For any other thoughts that we do have, so this is the comparison, and for those listening and those in the room, these are items that were non-confidential as we move.
We did speak with you earlier at the need to stop construction.
I have a similar table that we'll review.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
You must have access to your calendar and know when you're going to be using this room.
They do. Whether that gets down to the people actually running the drill. Okay.
But a similar type of table structure that we'll review. There are differences in the pricing and the terms and contract details that we will review in that confidential session.
The drilling is done. And then there'll be some minor explosions, and then everything will be a little dust, cycles for the last 2 weeks.
The picture just happened, by the way, the guy who's, it's not his fault.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes,
Facilities?
we will take a 5-minute recess. Just having a multi-billion, multi-year discussion.
Air Force related, or are you basically? Air Force related stuff I do is Okay. I mean, think about this. Here's my daughter. She's there for 2.5 years.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, but he's,
Plus,
I mean, there's some really 10 minutes.
how's that gonna work?
Yeah. So, I mean, you get, it's just,
It worked.
yeah, no, it's just.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out.
We're ready. Sorry about that, everyone. Justin?
Okay. So last opportunity, any discussion, questions on the non-confidential piece? Otherwise, we can transition over to the confidential material.
We can do that. We're gonna do both pipeline and bank in confidential. I anticipate what we'll do when we come out is deal with the bank stuff first and then go into the discussion of the pipeline afterwards, because the bank stuff is significantly more routine. Just so everybody's aware, we'll go in for 2 different sessions. We'll do pipeline, we'll do Bank of North Dakota confidential. We'll come out, we'll deal with the Bank of North Dakota confidential, and then we'll go into the public version of the pipeline. So, just for,
Very good. Governor, I move that under the authority of Northwest Century Code, section 6-09-35, 44-04-18.4, 44-04-19.1, 44-04-19.2, And 54-17.7 through 12, the Industrial Commission enter executive session for the purpose of Pipeline Authority confidential business, contract negotiation discussions, and Bank of North Dakota confidential business.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
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 I'm just going to say we have Assistant Attorney General Matt Dessek, Director of our Natural Resources Division in the Attorney General's office. Here with us today also, just with some additional expertise on executive sessions, those types of things. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Commission is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 4404-18.4, 4404-19.1, 4404-19.2, 5417.7, 12, to discuss the information provided to the Pipeline Authority previously determined to be confidential and for discussion related to contract negotiation. Only the commission members, their staff, commission staff, Pipeline Authority Executive Director, the Department of Mineral Resources Executive Director, and Bank of North Dakota staff will participate in this executive session. Following the Pipeline Authority and contract negotiation executive session, the commission is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 60935, 4404-18.4, 4404-19.1, and 4404-19.2 to consider those items listed on the agenda under the Bank of North Dakota confidential business. Only commission members, their staff, commission staff, and Bank of North Dakota staff will participate in this executive session. Any formal action taken by the commission will occur after it reconvenes in open session. I remind the commission members and those present in executive session that the discussion must be limited to the announced purposes. The executive session is anticipated to last approximately 1 hour and will begin at 10:18 a.m.
Have the JTECU process and approve the JTECU projects, I'm hoping can be a foot into the door for the next step, which is a true interregional project that provides benefits to both SPP and MISO being collectively approved.
I don't think that the tariffs in any way, shape, or form are above commodity prices. In fact, I think that
Let's just do it really quick, just because we didn't. Sorry. Drew and Doug are pros at this. That's not where we turn time. We good? We good?
Yep.
The executive session has ended at 11:17 a.m. and the commission is reconvened in open session. During the Bank of North Dakota session, the commission discussed those listed agenda items and made a motion on two separate loans. We will call the vote on the first loan first.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. And we will call the roll call on the second loan.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. That concludes the Bank of North Dakota's any action taken during executive session. And during the Pipeline Authority and contract negotiation executive session, information from two pipeline companies that was previously determined to be confidential, as well as potential contract terms were discussed. What are the committee's wishes? Keep in mind, we should have a robust discussion, but be aware of what was disclosed in a confidential session. Should not be discussed in an open session. Please.
Against the purposes of discussion, we'll start with the motion. I would move that we'd enter into precedent agreement with WBI pursuant to the authority set forth in North Dakota Century Code 54-17.7-04 for the purpose of purchasing capacity.
Second motion.
Discussion.
So, like a lot, I appreciated a lot of what was presented. And I believe there's strength that comes from both companies, both proposals, both the west and the east. I think there's some problems legally that we can't get to or get through with working one side of this, trying to buy capacity, full capacity with the $50 million up to the Underwood area. But that being said, I don't want that to preclude both companies working together to try and resolve some of those issues. Well, I'll call it the first leg or first phase. But ultimately, our goal is still to get to Eastern North Dakota. So I personally would like to see them work together on this to accomplish everything that's been set out, everything I'd like to see accomplished and buy capacity all the way to the east, knowing that we can still have access at different points, some for storage, some to access storage, some into some different pipelines, different markets. But ultimately, I guess that's where I kind of landed, is because we have some challenges with trying to do the 50 million based on the size of pipe. I think we're gonna top our nose off and end up with a problem that restricts our ability to accomplish our ultimate goal.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think that's the discussion. It's want to not just to, not at all to be North Dakota nice about it, compliment both entities in the preparation for the presentation to this commission on a couple of occasions. And then the materials that have been presented, have teed the issue up very, very well. And one of my questions, again, not because it would seem friendlier if everybody just, worked together on it. It's not that at all. I mean, it's an economics matter. If we get to the point today, if this motion prevails, get to that point today, it strikes me as the time that there would be the type of truly transparent discussions between these entities for how to capture relative strengths in each proposal along the way, to the benefit of North Dakota and the consumers and everybody involved. But I, for one, I mean, I've been on the commission now nearly 4 years, and really just want to point out this process stands out during that time period for the amount of effort, thought, but also betting on North Dakota and what's happening in the state by these entities, betting that this is going to be, and I don't personally look at this and think that this is going to be a matter of whether this capacity will be purchased eventually, and that this is all going to be marketable to the benefit. There are users. It seems like every week something else is being announced in the state of North Dakota that's going to benefit from a project like this. So we appreciate that bet on North Dakota by these entities. I think you've both bet wisely, and share the Ag Commissioner's view that if this were to pass today, if we draw that conclusion today, that it would be the time to really explore how to strengthen the overall project, even by a joint effort by these entities.
I will, first of all, I think everybody gets a little bit uncomfortable when you have to tell your friends no or yes at some point in time. I've been doing enough of this for a long enough period of time that I maybe possibly get less comfortable about that than other people. I think the real question becomes, at the end of the day, whether or not the commission's ready to act, whether we think we're ready to act right now, whether we think another month helps benefit this. Because I said it at the last meeting, I'll say it again at this meeting, this is a long-term infrastructure project in the state of North Dakota, and arranged marriages do not work. This has to succeed. At the same time, from our perspective, investing North Dakota dollars doing this, and I know there are varying cases, and if you are an end user in Fargo or Devil's Lake or Ellendale or Grand Forks, this all matters to you. From a state budgetary standpoint, that matters to me too, because I want more North Dakota consumers and constituents to have cheaper energy costs. But what really, really matters to me is the first mile. The first mile is the most important mile, because we've been talking about this since before I got into the North Dakota legislature in 2012. And so I hesitate on, I just quite honestly don't buy the argument that making a decision today is essential to keeping the momentum going that we have had. We've been talking about this for 20 years. That being said, I don't think it does any good to leave everybody hanging and dangling if we think, and to me, it comes down at those kind of conversations, whether or not we can decrease the number of right-of-ways, decrease the number of landowner fatigue, decrease all of those different issues by two companies working together. We have got assurances that regardless, whether we act today, whether we act in a month, whatever, both companies are willing to engage in conversations. But I don't know how we do 50 million to Underwood at 36-inch pipe. And I don't know that we have a clear answer to that question. And I think when you talk about the second two phases and where you're at, I don't know what that looks like as we move forward. And so, under the proposals, I think if the commission is ready to act today, they think that it is prudent to do it today as opposed to waiting for a month. It's tough because we do have information in confidential that we actually could discuss and talk about, except we can't discuss it and talk about it. But I think fundamentally to me, I've got lawyers in the room. There were 3 lawyers in the room during executive session. And I think there are real questions about whether or not we can even do that. And I don't think anybody's, well, I can tell you personally, my position is not a 30-inch pipe to Underwood. It's not, because I think that absolutely and 100% hamstrings us on phase 2 and phase 3. And I think that is my concern if you enter into a negotiation with intensity and we get to the point of saying we can't do the full 50 at 2 Underwood because of the way the law is written, then we're back into a capacity issue. And I'm making sure I'm using my open season sheet so I don't say anything that I wasn't supposed to say. So my only question and my concern and in regards to all of this is whether or not action now versus it helps facilitate I don't know how good, you guys, you're all really smart professional companies. You're going to figure out if you can make a deal or not. Us being involved in that is not going to help that negotiation, nor should it. And this is coming from 3 guys that have negotiated a lot of things over the years. But whatever the likelihood of that happening, I think is better for the state of North Dakota as a whole. So. Anything
It's been said, what has been said.
Yeah,
What we
yeah.
can, yeah,
Roll call.
Commissioner,
yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. Thank you, everybody. I know this has been a lot of work and a lot of process. A thank you from us is like kissing your sister, depending on what side of the alley. But I have not been through a lot of these because I've only done it for 6 months. I hope the rest of them go this half%.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Tough when you get drunk. Well,
We've been asking everybody for this for 20 years and nobody takes it. And all of a sudden we have a bunch of our friends in here saying we all want it.
Be interesting to see. Month brings.
yeah.
Hi, Don.
Hello.
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna set the stage for this new CEO non-confidential update. I've been working with Chairman, with Karen, working with Lisa Cruz, we're leaving next week. The idea is to stop the practice of giving you full reports of data and walking you through them. Instead, summarizing for you the key strategic, call it the good, bad, and ugly going on at the Bank of North Dakota. And then giving you a place to access the data you're choosing. So this is a pilot. And so I am also looking for feedback on, how does our board feel about this? Is it good enough information? Do you want to see more? Do you want to see more of the report? And it's a journey we can be on over time and adjust over time. So.
That's the way it's going to be each, as you look at it today, that's the way it's going to be each meeting, or there's going to be episodically, there'll be more in.
Most would be this. However, there are some things required in banking that a board must see. So if we had a policy come in, that would be an appendix to this report. Periodic view of, say, concentration report that you actually have to see,
Right.
Periodically we would bring that in, but we would try to bring as condensed and summarized, so you don't have to look through the data. We can tell you what the data is saying and give you access to the data is the idea.
I just recall from audits along the way, questions of whether we had sufficient access, not access, sufficient information been presented to us and to that, along the way. And I don't have enough to flush that out, but I recall that.
And we're very cognizant of that, and we will be working through that. The idea is we present so much data that it gets lost for us for the trees. Do you summarize data so you're making sure the most important is covered, but then you still have access to the data? So there's a balance here to maintain and achieve. And I think that's where we're stepping off, making a change, and then balance as we go forward. Working with, like you said, our head of DFI and different things. Okay. So strategic points in this. I want to start with the strategies, the key strategies. One of the biggest things we've got going on now at the bank is we're becoming a traction bank. This will be our new strategic system, our managerial system. You can see in the diagram, we're well on our journey of building it, and then we'll enter on the right the cycle of the quarterly 90-day culture, where our strategic plan is kept alive every 90 days. It's not do it every 2 years, set and forget it. Putting in our 5 foundational tools, it's already making a positive difference. I will be excited in October to come to Industrial Commission with our Vision Traction Organizer. It will be our new strategic plan. It will be 2 pages, not 52. It's pretty powerful when you see it. And on there will be a painting of our 10-year target, our 4-year picture, what we want to look and feel like and accomplish, FinTech included, which I'll speak through here in just a minute, as well as, more importantly, how we plan to get there. So I'll be excited to bring that to you. On page 3, I want to talk a little bit about FinTech. FinTech is affecting the banking industry globally, nationwide. There's tremendous things going on with banking evolution. There's 27,000 FinTech startups that are providing banking-like or banking services in the app space on everybody's phone. Many of them don't involve a bank. Some do. It's evolving, it's changing, and it's evolving and changing because banking customers, human beings, are evolving the way they want to interact and receive financial services and banking services and products and move their money. So this is occurring in the industry. Specifically to Bank of North Dakota, in terms of our mission is to be a leader for North Dakota banks and credit unions and stay abreast of the evolving changes. So that kind of sets the stage. But even more specifically for the bank, looking ahead strategically for us and our future growth. Up to this point, we are entirely dependent, our deposit funding base is state captive deposits. We're the state bank. We do not go out and get deposit in North Dakota and compete with our financial institutions. That's been a huge part of our success. On the charts here, when you look historically, you can see the run up in deposits due to Bakken back in 2013. You can see the run up in 2020 due to ARPA dollars and Federal CARES Act money due to the COVID shutdowns. Without those 2 big run up in deposits, we're not really an $11 billion bank. We would be more like sized at a $6 billion bank, which means we would be doing fewer loans, fewer ag loans, fewer commercial loans, fewer student loans, fewer legislatively directed programs, less smart with my money. All of those things would be smaller and more condensed. We've benefited from that. When we look forward at North Dakota state captive deposits, which are generated entirely from state tax revenue, which the biggest part is oil and gas tax revenue, the Bakken and what's going on there. All of our forecasts show that state captive deposits are going to be flat to slightly decreasing. We see no upward pressure on deposits. We actually see downward pressure potential, like the movement of gas out of the Bakken to open up production, to maintain the possibility of enhanced oil recovery if that code ever gets cracked. But even that is not projected as like an oil production increase. It's like an oil production maintenance of kind of historical levels. So looking ahead and combining the fact of our mission, we're first and foremost risk managers. We're liquidity providers. We're economic developers, and then we earn a nice profit and return for the state of North Dakota in that order. Liquidity management is critical. If you look in the area of 2016 to 2020 in the historical charts there, you'll see that that was when oil price went down negative $20, $30, and it stayed in that low range for an extended period of time. State tax revenues went down and stayed for an extended period of time. That was the time of the special session looking for funding. We quietly sold $2 billion of our bank liquidity held in our securities portfolio in order to inject liquidity into the system so that all the financial transactions could still happen and balance without additional out-of-state borrowing or having to do something like that. That liquidity provision is a critical part of our mission. To do that, we have to run our loan-to-deposit ratio at the right level. It's the best measure of liquidity. And loan-to-deposit is simply how much of that deposit are we lending into loans because they're non-liquid. Can't sell those in a big way, and how much are we holding in securities, bonds that are readily sellable. Our target is 75%, that red line. You can see looking ahead in the top one, if We just rely on just the state deposits holding flat or slightly shrinking over the next 5 years. We're going to remain well above our targeted loan to deposit threshold of 75%. We'll be approaching 90% and probably in a decade, well on our way to 100%. That's unsustainable. There's only really three things we can do. We can either decrease loans, do less student loans, less lending, less commercial, less ag, less legislative directed programs, less mission work, and shrink our assets down to get down to 75. Or we can increase our deposits to support future growth, or we can just accept more risk and say we're going to run at 100% loan to deposit.
No.
I agree. We choose strategically, we want to achieve the option where we can grow our deposits without competing with North Dakota financial institutions. In the banking industry, prior to the fintech evolution, it used to be if you were going to go out of your state, go to Phoenix, go to Madison, you had to go build brick and mortar branches, staff them with people, do tremendous marketing, build a de novo branch. The fintech evolution is opening up opportunities for not just Bank of North Dakota, but all banks and credit unions to go regionally, nationally, globally, without brick and mortar. You can do it in the digital space. There's certain ways that can be done. The lots of options, too many to cover here. A couple of the ones that we're looking at are the idea of a neobank possibility. Neobank is essentially creating a separate chartered bank owned by the Bank of North Dakota, a sister bank to the Bank of North Dakota in the digital space only, and utilizing that bank to go outside the borders to market for deposits to be deposited in that. Then we can use those deposits to make loans in North Dakota, make student loans in North Dakota, make commercial and ag loans, do more legislative directed programs, do more Smart with My Money and career college save and all the stuff. It's a form of bringing in out-of-state capital to use as a funding base. The other possibility is what's called embedded banking, and that's a three-way partnership between an issuing bank like us or any bank or credit union in the state, partnering with the end fintech. So you can think Uber Eats, Walmart app, DoorDash app, those types of things. You would put your bank product, your debit card and your checking account in that end fintech app. There's already a base of clientele. Those deposits go, you can use them to lend. There's complexities in all of these. These are just a couple examples that we're looking at. The long-term potential of what we're looking at in terms of growing, say, $3 billion in out-of-state, non-competing fintech deposits to use in North Dakota would allow us to grow from a $10 billion bank to about a $14 billion bank. It would allow us to grow our loan portfolio from here, our student loan portfolio, at a moderate pace of 3 to 4% per year, which is healthy and risk balanced. In addition, it has the potential to add probably close to $100 million in additional recurring net income to our bottom line over that time period. So we're kind of at the option of either we're looking to shrink the Bank of North Dakota from here on out, all things considered, or we're looking to grow the Bank of North Dakota in all respects from here on out. We are not looking for a decision today. This is an introduction of where our strategic thinking is at. We will be coming and seeking kind of final strategic approval late this fall, probably the October, November timeframe. So I'm early on in this conversation, just introducing the concept to you and to the public of what we're looking at in the Bank of North Dakota. Second strategy in this is helping North Dakota financial institutions figure out fintech. It's a complex space. It's moving fast. There's new terms every day. Our banks are struggling our banks are struggling to figure this out. We think we can be a leader in this space to help with that knowledge, that education, that connectorship. Additionally,
And the way it's set up, right, there's no real direct competition.
correct,
Like,
correct.
You're not, you're not competing against North Dakota banks in this space. You're actually facilitating it, particularly if you go through it and you have lessons learned that they can learn from on the way through.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
And providing a service for something that we see this whole customer base moving to.
Correct.
I can't believe how many people are actually operating in this now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
We just got data that showed in 2024 nationally, the majority of checking accounts opened, 40% of checking account, that share of checking accounts opened in the total United States, 40% were by fintech and banks tied to fintech. Only 12% were opened by community banks. It's a 40 to 12 ratio, and it's probably going to a 50 to 10 ratio and probably going to a 60 to 5 ratio in the next 5 years. So that's the seriousness of the situation. In that vein of helping North Dakota banks, one thing has emerged due to the recent passage at the federal level of the Genius and the Stable Act. The federal government took crypto, which was really in the speculative investment space. They took stablecoin out, tied it to the US dollar, and then required it to be backed by no more than 93-day treasuries. They moved it out of speculative investment more into now it acts and feels like a currency. This has serious repercussions for the banking industry, serious opportunity change for the banking industry. The core providers have announced, Fiserv has announced, FIS has announced, and Jack Henry has announced they are going to build stablecoin frameworks. Wyoming yesterday announced their Wyoming stablecoin, Frontier Coin. We at this point are seriously considering and in serious conversations about moving forward and creating a version of a North Dakota stablecoin, working through the banking system, working through the core providers of the banking system. No more to share on that at this point, other than we are looking under that hood. Again, no decision to be made, just giving you an early glimpse of things we are working on strategically. I'll speed up here a little bit. The final there is along the way to make a little non-interest income for both us and our banks. Moving on to talent management, wanted to give you a SMART plan update that was recently approved this year. Thank you for that approval. There's a dashboard I will be sharing with you. I'm happy to report through the first quarter, we are on track in our buckets of credit quality, enterprise risk management, financial performance, mission, and strategy. And you don't see it here. Second quarter just came out. Second quarter is mirroring first quarter. We're still on track halfway through the year. Even more importantly is the effect the SMART plan is having. We're already having and witnessing managers without direction from the executive team pull their teams together and ask the question, how can we do more to accomplish the mission to make sure the SMART plan accomplishes? We're seeing those examples of that. We've had staff put off retirement due to the SMART plan, key staff we needed to retain that we couldn't before. So anecdotally, it's already having positive effects that I like to see, which is great. Page 6, talking about governance, we have rolled in all of the changes required by the 69th Legislative Assembly. A lot of those you approved last time in policy. We are now preparing for the cash management conversation, working with the new chairman of cash management. Our preparation is really an education preparation at this point. Based on our experience in the cash management conversation up to this point, we're preparing to educate on concepts around cash management, what it is, what it isn't, align language and nomenclature, and introduce some concepts that we feel are important. And of course, we plan to continue to work with that board and with the chairman on that moving forward.
This is this is important, and it's important for a lot of reasons. One, to protect executive autonomy of the bank, and two, particularly with term limits coming up in the legislative session, making sure that people understand the actual in-out. I mean, the short version is the inside the box, outside the box, but
Yeah.
I mean, the more educated we can have new members of the legislature about the bank and about liquidity, and I mean, the better off we're going to be. We've talked about lines of credit, we've talked about a lot of different things, but the number one thing is we will have less friction and better allies with our friends in the legislative branch, the more we can educate them on this stuff. And they will have good feedback as well, even if we, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to agree all the time. We're doing some of this with water money. We're doing some of this in different places already. There were some things in the study that was done before I got here that do make some sense. And I think if we stick our head in the sand and say they don't, we run the risk of a pendulum shift. And I mean, policies made by the legislature, but we have to make sure that we keep everybody in their lanes where we're at. I think the best way to do that is full on. I mean, there's a reason I asked to chair it, because I'm one of the few people that's on all of the different places that this exists, and from SIB to here to Michelle chairs the Water Commission. So having an overall, we care about the global dollar, not a particular silo of any particular dollar. And I think that is where we end up in government, making some pretty significant incorrect assertions, probably is the best way to say it, because it might be correct in the micro silo, but it's not necessarily correct in the overall picture.
That idea of whole estate, yes, agree. Financials, key points, we're growing about 3%. That's a nice moderate pace right now, especially given credit quality deterioration trends that we're seeing, especially as we're looking strategy and funding base and loan to deposit ratio, all that ties together. Our net earnings are up 11% year over year. That's nice, healthy growth. Now that's removing the one-time bond swap loss that we did of 17 million. Now we're starting to recover that bond swap loss in the year that we did it, positive, and we moved $1 billion of securities earning 1% up to about 4.5%, 5%. So it was a great financial move, time the market, but we do got to work through the one-time accounting loss, recognizing loss. Our deposits have shrunk year over year, so it is supporting our forecast. And overall, yeah, the bank's performance is strong. I've already covered the enterprise risk management in conjunction with the capital plan that we developed and you approved and we used to communicate dividends with our legislative group, evolving enterprise risk management. This will be the first time you have seen, this is the holistic risk of the organization. And we've done a lot of work in our key risk indicators to make sure we're not missing forest for the trees. This is a good representation of the risk profile of the bank right now, and you can see it's green across the board. However, within that, there's a couple areas, operational compliance and credit, that are trending up in the green and are probably likely to hit yellow moving forward. I want to talk about those three. Credit specifically on the following page, the story here is we continue to see credit quality deterioration. Ag is under significant stress. It looks like that stress is going to continue into 2025. Not just storms, we got inflation, we got interest rates, and we got commodity prices that are significantly compressed.
Yeah,
Outside of
Thune
cattle.
just came out and said he's not opposed to emergency ag relief.
Yes,
That's
great.
yeah.
Into 2026, you mean?
I'm sorry, 26, yes. We have pockets of commercial stress. So there's some pockets in the state of some multi-use retail residential projects that are under stress, some pockets of hotel motels. It is not systemic, but there's definitely some material pockets of deterioration. Now the charts, the key takeaway is they are deteriorating. There's two things here. How close we are to our thresholds, where it becomes a red material. You can see in all the charts, we're still well within our threshold. Our best forecast of where we'll peak remain at this point within our threshold. So it would still be moderate deterioration, very, very manageable now and looking into the future. But even more importantly is what we're doing about it. Now is the time when banks either proactively succeed through this time or they reactively fail through this time. We plan to proactively succeed. So we moderately slow loan growth. We're actively identifying, addressing micro trends. We're ensuring special asset staff and contingency special asset staff. We're working closely with our lead banks, and we're conducting frequent stress tests. So we're, in a nutshell, we're on top of it. Second and final thing is liquidity. I've talked about this already, but you will see liquidity portion in here moving forward because it is so critically important. This is just historical, and you can see through our balance sheet movements with moderate loan growth, shrinkage of deposits, and the moves in securities, we're right at our target of 75%. Well within our threshold of 90, but you can see historically it doesn't take much to move that to 90 and above. It can happen in a rapid order. We're one oil price shock down and sustained there between we're into a liquidity crunch. So it's important that the board knows that. And finally, our disaster program is continue to work on the storm side very, very well. In fact, we are now looking at opening up to take additional applications from additional storms that have impacted areas in North Dakota where we feel that this will fit further.
I am assuming most of that will be temporary because of, they're not going to be able to build any permanent infrastructure. You're talking the straight line lanes, right?
Yes.
But I'm assuming most of those will be temporary storage just because I don't know how you'd get permanent storage built by harvest.
Actually, some is getting done.
Some is getting done from the earlier storm, but from the later storms. Like,
Right.
this last straight line windstorm, I can't imagine.
You're right.
Unless they have it on site, I can't imagine the supply chain issues allow for them to get anything up.
Pretty tight.
Particularly because it's moving west and wheat's coming off the field. The only reason wheat's not out down by where I farm is because it's too wet.
We were very surprised at how much there was in and around for how fast from the early storms, but I think you're spot on that
Probably most of that's been used up and has gone to repair from the early storms. So we'll continue to see a majority thus far has been more on the permanent storage side.
I would just be curious if the new stuff is more temporary.
Yeah, we'll continue to update on that as we go forward.
Now, to wrap around and finalize with your initial comments, strategy, holistic risk profile, major deteriorating and or improving trends, major updates on programs and policies. This, I think, is the intent of the regulatory framework to ensure the board is aware of the important material strategic things going on in the organization you're overseeing. I think you'll find argument going forward on, does this do that better? Or do data reports do that better for you to, look through and walk through? I think there's two camps on that. I fall in this camp with you access to the reports, but I think time will tell working through this whether we need to adjust and evolve.
Well, and it should be clear, this is a little bit me saying, I don't want to hear the same thing every month that hasn't changed. So if there is anything you guys want, if you want the written stuff and the report comes in more of this version, if there are specific things you like to see every month, please let Dawn know. I am by no means retiring that. I think we are better. I think meetings run better when you have things you have to deal with that are new versus getting repetition every month about a loan that hasn't changed in 6 months or a classification that hasn't changed in 6 months. But that is by no means, you got a new board chair, you got a new bank president. And if there are things either one of you want to see either in paper or discussed at every meeting, please let him know. He'll put it in. We'll go through it.
You serve at your pleasure.
No, I got to say that I appreciate this because when you go through the materials and then it's all regurgitated again, at some point you become desensitized. So then all of a sudden something slips through and something you miss and you catch it 2 days later and go, I don't remember that. So I like it this way because you go through it already. You can pull out the finer points of where a question may need to be expanded on, or there's something more that needs to be clarified. But we already go through this stuff and see it. So yeah, I appreciate it this way.
And this only works though if you, you have to bring up, if there is something we need to see that isn't normal, we need to see it. We need to know, we need to know it. And it only works. I want these meetings to run as efficient as possible, but not at the expense of not being aware of significant changes, substantial changes, things that you think we need to see. And if those are the cases, we will take the time to go through them. Most of those don't happen in open. Most of those actually end up happening in the other side of this. But either way, we want to use our time as efficiently as possible, but we also want to make sure we are aware of all, like anything of significance.
The other question I have is, are you okay with, so I'm dripping where our minds are at on fintech? We're not asking for final approval. We may choose not to go down this path, or you may at some point decision us not to. Are you okay with the early on conversation? I like it because it gives, I believe, you a chance to give me feedback on right track, wrong track. But I also am, 1 year into a more public setting. So I would love feedback on that.
Well, I'm comfortable with you going down that road. And when all this started to come out of the woodwork, 2 years ago, I was skeptical, but I've seen more and more people doing it, more and more of what it's about. I think we can be a leader and actually pave the way and help our banks in North Dakota engage with those consumers and actually do what we set out to do, either statutorily, legislatively, which is we're here to help and support the economy, whether it's at the community level, the consumer, state agencies, organizations.
Yeah, my level of personal comfort aside, we either get to be it's coming. The Genius Act passed. Congress has acted on it. Do you know how hard it is to get Congress to act on anything? My concern in this space, and I think the one thing that I don't know if we know is the regulatory risk.
Yeah.
Like, and the regulatory risk from the federal government about, I mean, now one, the nice thing about having a piece of legislation into law, we've already heard talk, right? They want to go back in and they want to tweak it. Talking about that and doing it are two different things. And I think, you know, the stablecoins conversation, I think, is fantastic. I mean, the next two generations of North Dakotans are going to be playing in this space. So why wouldn't North Dakota financial institutions be playing in this space? And if we can help our institutions navigate this, I don't expect we'll do this without any speed bumps. I mean, we will. It's new, and you'll have to figure out how the bank deals with that. But I think it would be comically irresponsible if we didn't go down this road, because the financial markets all over the world are going down this way.
Let's explore it at least. Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, bring us back the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I will.
Yeah.
Hopefully more good than ugly.
Yeah, right.